of his constituents. Um, I'm also, as a software engineer, very capable of handling the artificial intelligence and data center crisis that we are facing. The cost of living is going through the roof, and electricity is tied to the data centers that are constantly drawing on the limited supply of energy that we have. We need somebody who is a fighter, not a folder. I am innovative, resourceful, and hardworking. I have worked very hard for a very long time. I have come from the middle class, and I know what this district needs. I was born and raised in this district. This is my home, and I would be proud to represent you in Congress. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question goes back to you, Joey. It's no secret that many voters are disillusioned with politics in general and Congress in particular. How do you understand this prevailing sentiment? And if Democrats take back the House in November, what priorities would you support? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I know how the country feels and understand this sentiment because I grew up in it. During 2008, the global housing financial crisis happened. My father was a federal agent and he had his salary frozen by the government, while the government also gave multi-million-dollar golden parachutes to the bankers that caused the crisis in the first place. I grew up watching my friends, brothers, and cousins be sent to Afghanistan to die or to then come back and take their own lives because our government wanted to waste $1 trillion and kill 1 million civilians for nothing. I witnessed the opiate crisis happen in the Midwest at the same time when the manufacturing base was completely disappearing. And our leaders, our elected leaders, failed to rein in the pharmaceutical companies, and they failed to rein in the military industrial complex. Everybody in this country is sick and tired of the same leadership that we have had. Nobody believes Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are capable of leading us in this moment. And if you are not calling for them to step down and leadership, you are not capable of representing the people of America. That is what I would do when I get into Congress. The very first thing I would do is withhold my vote for Speaker of the House. I would not hand it over immediately. I would demand legislative concessions. I would demand a floor vote on Medicare for all. And I would demand that we immediately stop sending more money and aid to Israel.
Thank you. So, Sean, same question. It's no secret that many voters are disillusioned with politics in general and in Congress, and with Congress in particular. How do you understand this prevailing sentiment? And if Democrats take back the House in November, what priorities would you support? You have 2 minutes.
So I have a more optimistic view, and there's this weird dynamic that the Congress as an institution is always really unpopular, and individual members of Congress have a very high reelection rate. And indeed, whenever you poll, named members of Congress are much more popular than the institution. I think a part of that is really on us as members of Congress to not demonize. It's so easy to say, well, the problem is government. Goodness knows the Republicans have done it forever and cheapened not only elected officials, but made it easier for people to come in and demonize people who work for the TSA, people who work for the Social Security Administration. And the truth is, my experience, the people I serve with, the people who work in government are overwhelmingly motivated by public service. Are there some knuckleheaded exceptions? Absolutely there are. But I think one of the things that I've been proud of, the reason I do town halls so often, is to demystify what we do, to understand what's going on in the community, but also explain how we do it. The other thing that I've pushed really now for 3 terms is to make the kind of structural reforms to advance our democracy. Because if we're really honest, our founders didn't trust democracy. They didn't trust that people were sophisticated enough to vote for senators. They didn't trust they were sophisticated enough to vote for president. They didn't trust that anybody was sophisticated to vote unless they were a white Christian property owning male. It took us a long time to make some progress on those fronts. And we've introduced a series of reforms to expand the House, to expand the Senate and make it more representative, which would in turn fix the Electoral College, to overhaul the Supreme Court, because too often it is not that we don't do what the public wants, but that we do good things in the House, and then structurally they can't get through the Senate or get blocked by the Supreme Court. And because we have the power as the Congress to change the rules, we should change them. And I think the more we can advocate for that, the more we make democracy more representative, and the more we keep people from saying, well, the reason we're not doing what the public wants must be because of some cynical reason, instead of because it's the institutions that our founders created.
Thank you. Next question goes to you again, Sean. If you succeed in the primary, what is your strategy to persuade Democrats and swing voters to support you and the Democratic Party through the November general election campaign?
Um, I haven't lost an election yet. My first election, my predecessor had won by 18 points and we won by 7. And that 25-point swing, which we've locked in, and even after redistricting, the district still has about the same Democratic ratio as it did before. Um, I think what's been really important is to keep reminding people that we are Americans in the first instance. There's so much temptation, um, across the political spectrum to define people by the color of their skin, by who they voted for last cycle, who they love. And when we lose sight of the fact that we're all Americans and go into our sort of tribal corners, everything starts falling apart. And I think I've been able to succeed and win. I mean, I ran, I think, 3 points ahead of Kamala in the last race, which means there were a lot of Trump casting voters. The I'd like to believe, I think it's true, that we get those voters because I'm, I'm I don't concede on my morals or my ethics, but try to communicate in a way that says we're all in this together, and we're all gonna get through this and make America better together, not through division. And I think that's been effective so far, and we'll keep doing it.
Thank you. So, Joey, same question. If you succeed in the primary, what is your strategy to persuade Democrats and swing voters to support you and the Democrat Party through the November general election campaign? You have 2 minutes.
I would talk about how I'm going to actually deliver for the American people when I get into office. When it comes to Republicans and conservatives in general, I think I have a great opportunity to bring a ton of them back to the Democratic Party. The best example that I can give of this is by not compromising on my principles. I believe in universal health care. And I have spoken to a lot of conservatives, several in my family. My father is a small business owner, and we've spoken about universal health care at length and how it could help his small business and other small businesses. So, for example, my father's at the point where if he hires any more employees, he's going to, by law, have to provide health care to his employees. And that is looking at about $400,000 every year going to insurance companies. He could use that to reinvest into his business. He could use that to give higher wages. He could use that to expand the business. But even more interesting is something that he told me that he came up with on his own is that, oh, if I had universal health care, I could hire top talent. Because right now, the first thing everybody does when they walk in for an interview is ask, do you provide healthcare? And so this will allow small businesses to finally be able to compete with the larger corporations, and it will flatten the playing field. Universal healthcare will also be a pro-entrepreneurship policy, because so many people are prevented from starting a new business that they have a dream to start because they would have to give up their health care. So I would keep my principle still as universal health care, but I would reach out to the other side and talk to them in language that they understand and that they are comfortable with in order to bring them back. That is how I would make sure that we win the general election. And I would also say that this is a very solidly blue Democratic district. It is +7 on the Democratic index. And so this is an opportunity to elect a real progressive. We've seen what happens when moderates are put into the position, and it does not go well. Bernie Sanders is doing the best.
Thank you. And the next question goes back to you. And so for your closing statement, you have up to 1 minute to add anything else you want us to know.
We're already at closing statements?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So finally, I would like to say that, again, this is an opportunity to have a real progressive in office. Representative Caston is an incrementalist. He is an establishment Democrat. He is not willing to go against the Democratic establishment to deliver for the American people. He does not believe in universal health care. He sits on the finance committee and he accepts $500,000 every election cycle from Wall Street and private equity. He does not represent the interests of this district. I will. I will be a member of Congress of, by, and for the people. I will not sell out my constituents and I will have a moral backbone to stand up to genocide. My name is Joey Ruzevich. I'm a software engineer running for Congress. I'm ready and capable to be the leader that this district deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey. Sean, for your closing statement, you have up to 1 minute to add anything else you want us to know.
Well, thank you again for doing this. Thank you for making sure that everybody is informed going into the election. And what I'm hopeful. I remember in my first election, people said, "Can you name three things that you like about Trump?" And I said, he created the Women's March. He inspired a lot of people to run for office and get involved for the first time, and there isn't a third thing. And in that election, we had, of the 40 of us who flipped seats in that cycle, all but three of us had never held elected office before. Congress got way more diverse on every metric. I think Congress got a lot better. One of my proudest moments was one of our more senior members said to me, "The problem we have with your class is that you value expertise over seniority." Um, I've been proud to bring my own expertise in the clean energy world, have been leading those efforts in Congress. And it's now being more senior than half the members of Congress really have a position not only to have that voice be bigger, but to really be a bigger representative for the folks in the 6th District, and look forward to the opportunity. But the stakes are going to be high. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we appreciate your participation in this forum, and we're going to take a little break now. We wish you both well on the campaign trail, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank
So
you very much for
thank
the
you.
opportunity.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much for being here. And we will close now and reconvene at 7:45 for the 8 candidates in Illinois 8. So it's going to be kind of a different experience. But thank you again. So I think some people are going to stick around. Is that likely?
Some of our 7:45 candidates are here as well. So,
Oh, good. Okay. Okay. Well, we have a little bit of a break. We don't want to start before 7:45 because that was the promise we made. So we'll we will take a break. I'm trying to decide what the best way to take a break is. Like I don't want to kick people out, but
I think we could just mute everybody, including ourselves, and we could
oh,
just
that's
keep
a good
putting.
idea.
Yeah. Do you want to stop the recording right now and then start it up again?
Yeah, I'll do
Yeah.
that. Okay. Carla, are you on that?
Yes, that's good.
Okay, so we're going to stop the recording and then we'll put everyone on interest. Uh-huh. There is tremendous interest in who represents us in the U.S. Congress. We appreciate each candidate's commitment to public service, knowing how rigorous campaigns can be. And we appreciate the effort voters in our community are taking to educate themselves on the issues and candidates' priorities. For all candidates, this is an opportunity for your voters to get to know you better. We have just heard from our Illinois 6 candidates and are now reconvening to hear from you. Thank you to Carla Eisenberg and Jean Hostetler for their collaboration on creating the questions that we hope will elicit responses of value to your voters. And gratitude to our timekeeper, Betty Amore, and our questioner, Angela Praza. Angela will inform candidates upfront about how much time you have for your response and also the order in which we will be interrogating you, given that there are 8 of you. So we want you to be prepared for where you are in the order. And Betty will provide candidates with time and give you the opportunity to finish any sentence that you're in the middle of. Due to time constraints, we will not be taking questions or comments from the audience, but we will be regularly posting a link to all of your websites and contact information that you have provided so that every voter can follow up with you with questions or offers to support your campaigns. One last thing you might want to know, since there are 8 of you, it was a daunting task to figure out how to list you for all these different questions. So guess what I did? ChatGPT. So I asked ChatGPT to randomize 8 numbers from 1 to 8, and we got a randomization for for each of the questions. So I hope that you will appreciate that we did everything we could to randomize that. So that said, I'll hand it over to Angela, and she'll start the questioning.
Thank you, Flo. So welcome, everybody. First question is, please introduce yourself and tell us what in your experience and skill set qualifies you to serve in the U.S. Congress and meet this extremely perilous moment in our country. You have 2 minutes, and I'm going to list the first group of 8, starting with Sanjot, Danang, Ryan Vedekad, Kevin Morrison, Melissa Bean, Yasmin Bankol, Junaid Ahmed, Neil Coate, and Dan Tully. And if you need a reminder, I can certainly do that. So would you please go ahead, Sanjot?
Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone. And we all appreciate that you're taking the time to be with us this evening to have these questions. My name is Sanjot Danang. I am running in the 8th for the open primary. And the reasons why I'm running are a lot like many of you. For the last few years, I've been seeing a great deal of the chaos and uncertainty, particularly last year, and it's been very troublesome. I'm deeply worried about what kind of country we are leaving for our kids, our daily affordability, just in terms of the threats to democracy, the slow drip that we have been seeing. I grew up in Des Plaines. I came as an immigrant at the age of 6, and I grew up in Des Plaines, graduated from Maine West and went to Northwestern. I have 3 boys. My youngest is in the military. I've juggled a small business. I have an education technology company, and I also took care of my aging and disabled parents. A lot of those reasons are why I'm in the race, in really making sure that we take care of our families. I saw firsthand some of the challenges people go through, especially for disabled care and elder care and child care, and I'm happy to talk more about that in today's conversation. I was pleased to serve on President Biden's foreign policy working groups, helping to boost small business exports, and I continue to serve on the National Small Business Association, the largest nonpartisan business advocacy, strengthening small businesses and creating jobs, and also on Truman Center for National Policy, really focused on protecting our economic and national security. These are the current policy expertise, along with my personal and private experience, which will enable me to be effective on day one. It's a lot of why I'm getting into this race. We need common sense, responsible solutions. I've been hearing for years from folks about really the frustrations with the lack of common sense solutions. My priorities are really 2-pronged: defend democracy and provide a path forward for all of our families. So really making sure that we create opportunity through education and better paying jobs, making sure that everybody can live and age with dignity, and lastly, delivering pro-legal immigration reform once and for all, with faster pathways to visas, green cards, and citizenship. What we currently have is absolutely not an acceptable solution. I look forward to today's conversation and really talking about how we can protect democracy and create a path forward for all of our families that rewards work, not just wealth. Thank you.
Okay, next up is Ryan.
Can I just interject? Because there are so many of you and we do have these questions, we have put them in the chat. So you can take a look at the questions so it doesn't have to be repeated every time. Although I'm sure Angela would do it if you...
Yeah, you need me to repeat it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Flo, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here today on this chilly Thursday night. But my name is Ryan Vedekad. I'm 24 years old and running for Congress. And the reason I really jumped into this race is because everyone always talks about, hey, we need to pave the way for young people. And I'm young people, and I really thought that it's time for a change in our democratic institutions, but not just younger voices, but also better voices in Congress. I was born and raised here in the district. I went to Barrington High School, volunteered and taught fifth grade Sunday school at my church, went to the University of Illinois. I was there during COVID times, so it's not fun going to college during COVID. And so I made a choice. I hunkered down in my dorm room and was able to graduate in 2 years from there. After that, I went to Austria as a Fulbright scholar and worked as an English teacher over there. And the big reason why I think it's really important is because I lived and worked in a country where progressive policies actually work. Things like universal health care and universal child care, an amazing education system. These are policies that I understand now that I really want to bring back to Capitol Hill. After that, I went to graduate school at the University of Chicago and got my master's in international law. And then after that, I went to Washington, D.C., where I worked as a counterterrorism analyst at the U.S. Department of Justice. Uh, My office, we handled some of the most complex and hardest things you could imagine, from prosecuting school shootings and the October 7th terrorist attacks to also prosecuting January 6th. So that was my job, helping on the data side with prosecuting these cases. Um, when the new administration came in, Pam Bondi, she walked into the office, shook my hand, and then fired my boss. And so I made the choice to resign from that position and run for Congress because I just really think we need a change in our current system and really just shake it up and bring a new voice to this thing. So I really look forward to meeting you all here today and all the rest of your questions.
Thank you, Ryan. Next up is Kevin.
First and foremost, I want to thank all the organizers. I've been involved with Indivisible groups since the founding of these organizations. First and foremost, I'm from the 8th Congressional District. I grew up in Elk Grove Village, and I've had the honor of a lifetime serving these last 7 years as a county commissioner. I know in DuPage County you call us board members, but it is an important role. I serve 325,000 constituents in my county board district. And I have had the honor of serving these last 7 years. And, getting to where I am today was no easy feat. When I ran in 2018, I made history. I ran against the chairman of the Illinois Republican Party in a seat that had never elected a Democrat before and won, becoming Cook County's youngest and first openly LGBT commissioner. As a commissioner, I created a nationally recognized one-stop shop to help small business owners start and grow their businesses. I made reproductive health and gender identity protected classes for 5.2 million people. I created our county's first ever Department of Mental and Behavioral Health, expanded language access on the ballot from 4 to 12 languages. So I've gotten a lot done in the 7 years that I have served, and that's just the start of some of my accomplishments as a commissioner. But right now, we need leaders who are going to be able to step into Congress, utilizing their past experience, but also ensuring that they can get things through the finish line that help everyday people do better. I've demonstrated that as a commissioner, but apart from that, I've also used my time and energy to help elect great candidates, not just locally in Cook County and the Collar counties, but across this nation. I sat on the Victory Fund board for 4 years, helping elect LGBT candidates across the nation. So we need fighters who are not only going to be able to take on this administration and hold them to account for all the illegal actions that we're witnessing, but also make sure that we're winning back majorities in the House and the Senate at this critical juncture in our country.
Thank you, Kevin.
Perfect time.
Yes. Melissa.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for holding the forum, and to Indivisible, thank you for really all of your grassroots work, getting people out at the No Kings rallies. It shows the power of the people, and I thank you for that. I'm Melissa Bean. For those of you who don't know me, I grew up in Des Plaines, went to Maine East High School, Oakton Community College, and Roosevelt University. Did all my school at nights while I was working full time, and then went on to work in technology. And while I was working, I had some children and understood the challenges of work-life balance. And also the difficulty when I started my own business of affording health care because our system, this was before we'd passed Obamacare. I had a member of Congress representing us that was totally out of touch, anti-choice, anti-environment, anti-public schools. And so I ran against Phil Crane and defeated him. He was the longest serving Republican member of the House and started a blue wave across the western suburbs because after I showed that a Democrat could win, Bill Foster won and Sean Casten won and Debbie Halverson, et cetera. Now all those western suburbs are represented by Democrats, and I'm really excited about that. Since then, I lost my seat, and that was because I was part of one of the most accomplished Congresses. I worked with President Obama and Nancy Pelosi when I got elected, and we passed Obamacare. We passed Lilly Ledbetter for equal pay. We passed the Wall Street reforms. And because I voted for Obamacare at the time, it wasn't so popular. I lost my seat. I knew I would do it again. It was worth it. And so what's bringing me back now is that all of the progress that we made is under assault by this do-nothing Republican Congress. So instead of throwing my shoe at the television, I'm back in the game.
Thank you, Melissa. I just have this vision of throwing a shoe at the television.
Well, I know I'm not the only one who's done that.
Right, absolutely. Okay, next up is Yasmin.
Yeah, I don't think
I
she's.
don't believe Yasmin is here.
Okay, I thought I saw Junaid.
Okay.
Junaid?
Junaid's here.
Yes, okay, great.
All right. First off, thank you. Great to see you all. I'm excited to be here. Good to see the Indivisible group on Zoom as opposed to on the streets. We have been protesting side by side. So, I'm Junaid Ahmad. My journey to this campaign started like so many American stories. My dad came to this country. He worked hard. 2 jobs at times, and wanted to honor his sacrifice. I started out my community college education at a community college in Chicago. Then I transferred to DePaul University, where I was working full time during the day and going to school in the evenings. And then 7 years later, I went back and earned an MBA from University of Chicago Booth School of Business. Today, I own a tech firm and a proud father of 4 kids. I'm living my parents' dreams, the American dream, but that dream is under attack right now. And Donald Trump is tearing apart our government to give, for the whole purpose of just giving wealthy a tax break. We need to send a progressive fighter to Washington who will hold him accountable. I am running to fight back and push forward and to make life affordable for the working families of our district. He's cutting Medicaid, cutting food assistance, making everything more expensive. And he's making, our streets a war zone. But there's so much work to be done, from abolishing ICE to making things affordable for our working families. What does that mean? That means affordable healthcare for everyone, affordable childcare for everyone, quality public education, a free community college, eliminating student loan debt. And we need to bring jobs back into our district and raise the minimum wage so that, no one is working, 2 jobs and still living in poverty. We need a path to 100% clean energy. Stronger. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Junaid. Next up is Neil Coe.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Indivisible DuPage, for hosting this event in such a evening of the time, cold weather, but we are still warm and hot and ready to take on Donald Trump. My name is Neil Coe, and the reason for me to run for Congress is personal. My son, who is 11 years old, and my mother, who is 77-year-old, is in the district. I've lived here more than 30 years, and for them, I want to make sure the American dream is accessible. But not just for them, I also want to then extend making sure my communities, my district also has an access to American dream that most of them have lost faith of and into. The Gen Zs do not believe in American dream that they can achieve it, and the older generation are losing hope that their Social Security and Medicare will not be available, which is an earned benefit. I was born in India to a lower middle class family, one of three brothers, and in my home, education was the topmost priority. So for me, education and respect to elders, which is what my mother taught. I was raised by a single mother. I came here, as I said, 30 years ago, and from that time, I've been living in District 8. I've created many jobs, more than 200 in the district. I've created global corporations. But for me, this race is to give back, to the country that gave me everything and that accepted me as I came as a first generation immigrant. But today, when I see the system is broken, today, when I see that it's not just immigrants, but American citizens of any color are being under attack, this is not the America that I came to, and I do not want my future generation and my future communities to go through. And that's why I want to run for Congress. Equally, in my district, we have lost companies like Motorola, Sears, Ameritech, and the previous administrations or the previous leadership has failed this district to make sure we bring high-paying jobs. And I have created global corporations. And I want to make sure that when we have airport like O'Hare, we want to double down and make this a model district. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Okay, and finally, Dan Tully.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for this opportunity to meet with your members. Hi, my name is Dan Tully. I am running for Congress in order to stop this administration's illegal power grab and to restore integrity to our government. I am an attorney with over 8 years of experience practicing law. I am a veteran who served in Iraq, as well as a current major in the U.S. Army Reserve JAG Corps, including 3.5 years on active duty, as well as I'm a former federal civil servant. I resigned from the U.S. Department of Commerce when this new administration cut one of my primary funders, USAID, last year. And I refused to help forward this authoritarian regime as it put forward its plan to dismantle the rule of law. And now I'm running for Congress on my Trump accountability plan. Based on my legal and military experience, I've put together 10 different steps that we should pursue, not only to re-exert congressional authority in certain areas like war powers and tariffs, but also hold the executive to account while also reforming the Supreme Court. But more so on the executive side of things, we need to make sure from day one have an ICE accountability commission, have a completely politically independent attorney general's position. We need to use the inherent contempt power of Congress to go after MAGA cronies who decided to direct their agencies to violate the law. And I hope to go into more depth as we go forward throughout this conversation tonight. But just a little bit more biographical information about me. I was born and raised in DuPage County. My mom and dad were both nurses. They met at Cook County Hospital. They raised my brother and myself here in DuPage. I was born and grew up in Downers Grove. I live now 20 minutes down the street in Carroll Stream. And all that to say, they taught me the value of public service and pursued after that internships in Durbin's office and Lieutenant Governor Simon's office, worked for Obama in the White House counsel's office, worked in the Navy Marine Corps Trial Judiciary as well. So my roots as a Democrat go deep, but looking forward to the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So we are on to question number 2. And each of you will have 2 minutes. It's no secret that many voters are disillusioned with politics in general and Congress in particular. How do you understand that prevailing sentiment? And if Democrats take back the House in November, what priorities would you support? And here's the list or the order of answers. So Yasmin Bankole will go first. Neil Coate will go second. Ryan Bendekad will go third. Sanjot Danang fourth, Kevin Morrison fifth, Dan, you'll go sixth, and then Melissa will go seventh.
Junaid,
Okay.
did you
Oh, and
miss?
Junaid. Well, I don't think who's not here.
Junaid is here. Yasmin is not here.
Oh, Yasmin is not here. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. So Neil will start. Okay. And then
All right. I think
yeah.
I think, Angela, you have a very valid question. I think in this times of chaos and hatred, I think the first thing we want to ensure it's important for all Democrats. The problem is not that Republicans have done their job. The problem is we as Democrats have to come out, show up, and get to the voting booth. If we do not do that, we are going to have more bad the next 2 more years. And the reason for us to get in all numbers and full numbers as early voting has started is because we want to take back the House. It's the most important thing. The reason we want to take back the House is so that we can work on a proper plan to dismantle Trump. Because if you do not dismantle Trump, we would not know the country that we have and what it's going to look like in the next 3 to 4 years. So that's the first thing, is to take back the House, make sure that Trump and his cronies have held responsible for all the lawlessness things that are going on, including ICE, including mass people, kidnapping, killing that's going on, corruption, endless plethora of things that he's doing. So we want to take that back. Number two, the first priority for me is going to be my seniors and their earned benefits like Social Security, Medicare, that cannot be on the chopping block. It is not a freebie. It is an essential that they have put their hard-earned money into and cannot be on the chopping block. And number two, I want to make sure women are respected and they have fairness to equal pay, fair pay, and the right jobs for their qualifications. Third, but not the least, we want to make sure District 8 brings back all the jobs that we have lost over the last 2 decades. We need to bring those jobs back. Global companies from Japan, China, Korea, South Korea needs to be brought back to this district. We have a great airport, and we want to make sure that we double down on that, and we tell the world that this is the district that we want you to invest into. Also, we want to make sure that, all right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Neil. Okay, so next up is Ryan.
Well, yeah, thanks so much for the question. It's essentially the reason I jumped into this race in the first place. And in 2024, Democrats said that we lost the election on a messaging problem, but I don't think that's accurate in the slightest. You don't lose 7 swing states, the popular vote, and the presidency on a messaging problem. I really think that's a Democratic Party problem. And the reason for that is because voters don't think that we'll fight for them. Democrats have been constantly throwing slogans and telling voters what to think versus actually empathizing and feeling what they think. And so take the economic climate, for instance. Voters have been constantly saying that they don't feel like the economy is good, but statistically, the GDP and the economy has been actually doing better during the Biden years. And in response to that, Democrats didn't empathize with voters and say like, hey, I understand what you're feeling. Like the economy is doing good, but like this is the reason why you're not feeling it in terms of prices. Democrats just said, no, like what you feel is wrong. Statistically, the economy is doing well and your feelings are invalid. And so I think we have to change that method of politics. I think we should really just meet voters where they are, see what don't throw slogans at them, and just try to help them understand things. And I think I'm in a unique position to do that, I'm actually the youngest person running for Congress this cycle in 2026. I turn 25 a week before the election. If you read your constitutions, you have to be 25 to be a representative. And I think I'm just in a unique position because it would show that like, hey, here in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, we have some grit, we have some purpose here. And it could really make a big difference in flipping the House and winning back those voters that we lost in 2024.
Thank you so much, Martin. Okay, so Sanjot.
Thank you. My parents instilled in me since my earliest years, not only just a sense of work ethic, but really a great pride in the promise of America. And it is that concept and that sentiment that has really been under attack. For the last 7 years, I've been involved in helping to flip red to blue, something I know DuPage County knows quite well, and both in Illinois and around the country. And I have consistently heard this message from voters. People feel very disillusioned. They feel that government doesn't work for them. They feel that people in Congress are not listening. They are not aware. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm also getting into this race. We need regular people. We need small business owners. I bring in an innovation mindset. 40% of Congress are lawyers. And I have great friends who are lawyers, but that's an over-indexed mindset. We need people who are moms and people who are small business owners, people who have actually lived the experience of taking care of disabled and elderly parents. So that is one of the big reasons why I'm able to connect with voters, and they certainly appreciate that federal experience. So there are a couple of things that I think we can do to start earning back the trust and restoring trust from people. The first first is effective governance, right? We need to make sure we have new leaders, new ideas, and new solutions that actually impact people's daily life. And that is something that I'm going to be very focused on, whether it's childcare, elder care, or disabled care and immigration. The second is we need to also hit disinformation, and we need to hold their social media companies accountable. There's a quirky little provision called Section 230, which allows social media companies to not be held accountable for the disinformation, which is actually sowing a lot of this chaos and this discord. So I want to make sure that we update and reform that. And then the third thing I think we can do to make sure that voters begin to trust those in Congress is campaign finance reform and term limits. Happy to talk about those a little later.
Thank you so much, Sanjo. Okay, Kevin.
For one, I really appreciate this question. Why do so many Americans feel disillusioned with their government, especially with Congress? It's because we don't have enough working class folks in the halls of Congress. We have too many multimillionaires strolling those halls and not understanding the real issues that everyday hardworking families are going through. Just in this race alone, two of my opponents have loaned themselves over $500,000. One has given themselves $325,000. I do not have the capacity to do that. My only salary in the last 7 years has been a commissioner's salary. And how we restore faith that our electoral governments are working is by electing empathetic leaders. Since I was 10 years old, I would tell my mom that no matter what job I ended up in when I grew up, it needed to be directed at helping others do better. Because I witnessed my mom do that. She's a small business owner, and I saw her restaurant continuously giving back to the community around them. So first and foremost, we need less self-interested people and more selfless leaders, and that will help return faith that our government is serving the people that they're supposed to be. That's their constituents. Now, in terms of my priorities, we need to take leadership to claw back all these steals of power that we've seen by the Trump administration. We've seen them, for one, taking congressional authority away. We've seen them denying court orders. That needs to be reversed. But also at this moment, my generation feels like the American dream is out of reach. That needs to change. Millennials all the way on down to our younger generations are predicted to be worse off than our parents' generation. It's one of the reasons why I created a nationally recognized program to help aspiring entrepreneurs start new businesses, so we could see the middle class start growing again, see more upward mobility. I think we, as the richest nation in the world, should be guaranteeing affordable access to housing, healthcare, and higher education. Those will be my top priorities in Congress.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. Dan.
People are certainly disillusioned with their government because they see their government focused on things that don't improve their lives. My top priorities will be using the congressional role of being lawmakers to actually go after and tackle those problems. So let's break it down one by one. In terms of housing, what can Congress do? Well, a number of things. One, in the supply side, go after the tariffs that this administration has co-opted from the legislative branch. The Constitution makes it pretty clear tariffs are an exclusive remit of Congress. And yet this president has continued the trend of using executive power to place tariffs on all sorts of materials, for instance, from Canada, steel and aluminum, which then goes makes housing more expensive. But also on the demand side of housing, we have private equity and hedge funds, other institutional investors participating as home purchasers. When you have such institutions going up to bat for a house sale, most Americans aren't able to compete with cash offers with 150 times X percentage points over the asking price. And when it comes to groceries, there are things we can do. Again, tariffs. 20% of food that Americans eat comes from overseas. That means that there's tariffs right now, which is a tax that's not passed on. It doesn't stay with the suppliers from overseas. It's passed through the chain and down to the American taxpayer and the people that are consuming the food. So we need Congress to step up and pull back that power. Now, what I would assert is that Congress can do that by requiring a review and consent function in the Senate for any new tariff program. In addition, electricity. In parts of this district, we've already seen electricity costs go up and double since last year because of data centers, not even AI data centers. And yet the threat of AI data centers is emerging in the western part of this district. Those take up to 10 times the amount of energy that a normal data center requires. So Congress can pass a law that says any tech company coming into building a data center has to bring its own power source. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Junaid.
Thank you. Your question was, how do you understand this prevailing sentiment by the voters that they're disillusioned? In talking to hundreds of people across the district, that's an accurate statement. People are disgusted. People are disappointed, not just with the MAGA Republicans. People are disappointed with the establishment failing them. The corporate money, the dark APAC money that is in our races these days, it is hurting. People want representation of their voices. People do not want representation for major corporations and dark money in the district. And unfortunately, we have candidates in this race who have taken over 400,000 from APAC donors. And you have a candidate who is now for advertisement was bought for 400,000 for 5 days of advertisement that you're going to see on TV. From Melissa Bean has been receiving that kind of money, 800,000. That's a whole lot of money coming in. And people are disillusioned. People don't want that. People want their voices in Congress. And I'm very proud to announce that when we launched this campaign in the first quarter alone, we raised 90% in state, 60% in district. That's the voice of the people. I have been on the ground with, organizers, with activists, shoulder to shoulder. When an ICE detention center in McHenry County was separating kids from their parents and holding the parents there, we successfully shut it down. And that's the voice that we will take to the halls of the Congress. This is what people want. People are sick of the status quo. People are tired of politicians who are standing up for billionaires and millionaires. They want their voice in Congress. And that's what is needed in this district, and not just in this district, but across the country. A lot of us bring expertise and experience, but we need someone with values in Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, Junaid. And finally, Melissa.
Thank you. I think people are disillusioned and they're very angry. Both the American dream and our American values are under assault. One of the things that I'm working on, particularly for young people who are feeling so hopeless about their future, is an Empowering Young Americans plan to make housing more affordable, education more affordable, to make sure the subsidies get returned that were available to support Obamacare for young people, because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything, to make sure that wages get increased and that people can work towards a sound retirement. But the anger is understandable. We have a Republican Congress that is not only a do-nothing Congress, but they're assaulting the progress that Democrats made when we had a majority, because Democrats are the party of the people and we work for the people. We understand that the middle class drives our economy and it's really slipping. The wealth gap is growing and it really needs to be addressed. And that's where a lot of the anger is coming from. So I'm proud of having worked on a number of things when I was in Congress, and I have a plan to address that and make people more hopeful moving forward. But one of my opponents mentioned the Constitution, and we really have to restore the Constitution. It is under assault. This Congress is not doing their job. Being in Congress is a hard job, but it's also one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had. But it's a lot of work and a lot of due diligence. And these guys just don't want to do the work, and they're willing to let the president run the country by executive fiat. And this is a president who's proven he's not fact-based, he's not very hardworking, he's very petty and lives for retribution. That's not what we need from a White House, but the Constitution provides for balance and separation of powers. We need Congress to do their job.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, so follow-up question number 2. If you succeed in the primary, what is your strategy to persuade Democrats and swing voters to support you in the Democratic Party through the November general election campaign? You'll have 2 minutes for this question, and the order is Kevin, Melissa, Dan, Neil, Ryan, Sanjot, and then Junaid. So Kevin, go ahead.
Well, I have a track record of being able to find common ground with just about anyone. And I'm really proud of the diverse amount of support that I've already earned for my campaign. I have bipartisan endorsements in my race. I have more nonpartisan elected officials endorsing me and mayors than any other candidates in this field. And it's because I've always had an open door policy. I work with all of our elected officials. We may not agree on everything, but we find what we agree on and then we help deliver for our shared constituents. And so, how would I help grow my support base as we approach the November elections? I would meet people where they're at. I would find out what issues are important to them. And even if we're from different parties or have different beliefs on certain issues, I, people come to know that I wear my heart on my sleeve. I actually care. I do my homework. I like hearing and finding solutions to, issues that I might not be dealing with, but regular everyday folk are. And so, it's going to take people who are actually accessible. We don't already have a problem with our congressional leaders not hosting regular town halls, not showing up, not meeting with their residents. That would not be me once I get elected to Congress. I'll continue to have an open door policy. I'll continue meeting with all of our residents, no matter if we agree or not. We will find our common ground and we'll find solutions to make the world a better place for us all. And that is actually incredibly important. Today I got endorsed by the Illinois Federation of Teachers, and that is a really important endorsement for me. I think that high quality public education should be accessible for all residents here in the United States, and they have teachers alongside me in this race is going to be incredibly impactful, but something that I really want to champion for our families moving forward.
Time. Okay, Melissa.
Right on time.
Right on time.
I don't think things will change much from a primary to a general in the sense that, the things that I think all of us as Democratic candidates are working for are for all the people. It's not just Democrats that care about affordable health care or affordable housing or affordable groceries. Republicans do too, and obviously so do independents. So I would just continue to listen and reach out, whether it's teachers, students, firefighters, people in labor unions, small businesses, and continue to listen and learn what their issues are. It's one of the things I was proud of doing when I was in Congress. I held small business forums and had hundreds of businesses come and share their issues. When I was in Congress, I would bring the Commerce Department, I would bring the Health Department, and share some of the resources that were available to those small businesses that they didn't realize. For instance, when we passed Obamacare, we provided tax credits to medical practices so that they could create electronic patient records, and we provided tax credits to them. A lot of them didn't realize it. Before we did Obamacare, small businesses, if they offered health care to their employees, they didn't get any credit for it the way large corporations did, but we built that into the plan. So that's what I'm going to continue to do, is the same things that I worked on before, is to continue to be available and work on behalf of everyone so they can achieve their goals.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa. Next up is Dan.
I would see communication as a candidate, as well as being an elected official, as having two components. First, input, and second, output. The input phase is when a candidate or an elected official meets with constituents. And I'm really happy to say that I'm in the middle of my Tully Town Hall campaign. I've got 11 Tully Town Halls in the last 10 weeks of this campaign. It's one thing to give lip service to having town halls as a candidate. It's another thing to actually host them. And I'm one of only two people in this race with publicly posted town halls. The other one is Yasmin. I would just actually in text conversation with her. She would be here, but she is currently working in her village trustee position. So she sends her regrets. She had already previously notified folks apparently, but I'll let's say she's the only other one having open town halls that are publicly posted. I've had people come that are not happy with my ideas. People challenging me, and that's the part of being accessible, because I want to hear not only the good things, but also the bad things. That's the input phase. The second phase is output. And that's what I call domestic diplomacy, using the skills that I used to use when I was conducting diplomacy in the Asia Pacific for the U.S. Department of Commerce, funded by USAID, in places like Indonesia, Timor-Leste, Bangladesh. here in the Chicagoland, we live in an island of blue and a sea of red. We could go an hour north, hour west, hour south, and encounter some very different territory. What I would do is I would go to those places, those red places, with different sets of facts. And first, listen. Second, seek understanding. And then third, share information. And I believe there will be enough people hurt by Trump's policies that will be looking for alternative solutions. And if I can do that iterated in an iterative process, we can build bridges and extend a hand to bring more people to vote the Democratic Party than voted in 2024. If that's sustained, we will be able to actually have a legislative base, and not only a legislative base, but an executive base to tackle the challenges that we're facing. In addition, I would want to make sure that we go on Fox News and other podcast spheres where Republicans tend to have it and up.
Thank you, Dan. Next up is Neil.
Sorry, okay. Thank you so much again. Once the primary is over, I think the goal of the leader is to bring everybody together, is to bring all the leaders together, all the community together. And more important is to excite the Democrats to say there is new leadership going to come. Excite the Democrats saying that Trump is not going to be here forever. Excite them to say that future is going to be better. If you can do that, you can invigorate all the community and vote in numbers to tell Washington, D.C. that what's currently happening, we do not agree. We do not want you the way the lawlessness and recklessness that's currently going on. That would be my journey, to work with all townships, to work with all the current leaders and the past leaders, and across the aisle wherever possible, because most of the mayors and the city mayors have a different party base, but still, I've worked with many mayors. I want to bring all the mayors. We have almost 25 plus cities under the district, 750,000 people, and we need to make sure that they all come together under a leader and listen to them. Most importantly is be a collaborator. Be a collaborator to join together, not divide. And that would be my journey to go to Congress.
Great. Thank you, Neil. Next up is Ryan.
Yeah, so I think we're all kind of saying an iteration of kind of the same thing. I want to say like one little story, I guess, when I decided to jump in this race, especially in regards to a lot of my friends in the 2024 election. A lot of young men actually drifted towards the Republican Party. And that's exactly me, and a lot of the guys are young men. And so when my buddies kind of asked me why I decided to do this, and the first thing I did was I asked like, hey, like let me like list 10 different policy issues and let's see where you stand on them. And for 8 of these 10 issues, they're exceedingly blue, like all these young masculine guys. And so I'm like, guys, like you are a strong Democrat, but like, what party would you pick? And they're like, oh, like I'm a Republican for sure. It's like, I just listed these 10 issues and like where you stand, like policy wise, you are a very blue Democrat, not even just a moderate, like a very blue Democrat. And it kind of always goes down to this idea of like, it's just a vibe. Like I think Republicans kind of just fight for me a little bit more, and they're stronger in their views and ideas. And so that's the reason I kind of wanted to do this in the first place, to show that we don't, that the other side of the aisle doesn't have a strong hold on that demographic. I think that the big thing is just simply reaching across the aisle and just putting out a good character and a good vibe towards the other side. It's meeting in the middle on some issues, standing for your values on some others, and really trying to do things in a way to just be efficient and get stuff done, get actual good policy forward, move forward on healthcare, move forward on ending wars, and tariffs. And so that's the big thing that I would try to do in Congress.
Thank you, Ryan. Sanjot.
Thank you. In addition to part of my small business, my education business. I'm a social scientist, and I have worked across more than 50 countries where I have traveled. And I think that what I've learned is perhaps very relevant to our district, as I always come back home. We're very multicultural, multi-language, multi-faith, and really being able to speak to people across wide differences and wide perspectives is something that I have done my entire career. And in fact, I've already been out in our district talking to anybody who will talk to me. I call it my rebuilding the base movement with common sense solutions. We do agree on a lot of the basics. And too often, people get caught up in ideological purity. In fact, I'm engaging with voters every day, whether at the door or through a text or through our coffees with Sanjot. And that's one of the big things that I hear a lot. Will you vote the straight party line? Will you do what's right for us? Are you ideologically pure? And I think people want to know that the common sense solutions are really about what are we fighting for? Most people do agree with us. Childcare, healthcare, elder care, pro-legal immigration reform, making sure that housing is affordable, sensible gun control. These are actually more popular, as Ryan just said, than we realize. So it's part of rebuilding that base. As I often say to everybody, we may have two different teams, the red and blue, but at the end of the day, we are Team America. So I'm already out there making sure that we communicate to everybody and we build the Democratic majority base.
Great. Thank you so much. And finally, Junaid.
Thank you. First, I'll very quickly clarify that we actually had a meet and greet earlier today in Elgin. We have one in Des Plaines, and we have one for next Friday, the 13th, in Palatine. Welcome to join everybody. As we are, kind of, as said, been knocking doors, talking to people when the weather was nicer. Around we find open garage, people working in their cars, in their lawns. I just walk up to them, right? Normally, when you knock doors, you're knocking the Democratic doors. But then when I see someone out there walking or in the yards, in the garages, I just walk up to them, shaking it off. And there are so many people on the completely opposite side of the aisle from a partisan perspective. And then by the time you're done with the conversation, my problems, my kitchen table problems are their problems. And people, again, that common sense, the common thread is they want their voice, they want their basic issues to be resolved, which is not rocket science, which is not difficult. As you win the primary and we go to the general election, when you talk about the kitchen table issues, when you're talking about affordability, when you're talking about parents struggling with childcare, those are the messages. That's what people want to hear. That's what people want to talk about. And when you try to bring the real solutions to the problem, then they're going to be their voice as opposed to the voice of the dark money or the big money or the billionaires or the corporations. I think we have a very, very straight and forward path here. And also, we just need to keep in mind that this is, we often talk about right versus left, especially with this president. Well, unfortunately, we are dealing with that. But this country is dealing with a much bigger problem. That's the top versus bottom. And that is the biggest issue that we have to resolve. And we have to be in front of issues that are common to the people. How are you going to eliminate the student loan debt?
Time.
How are you going? Okay. And how are you going to bring affordability? Thank you.
Thank you, Junaid. Okay, well, thank you for answering those questions. Now we're going to move into our closing statements. You will have 1 minute for your closing statement. And we just would like you to add anything else you want us to know about you or your campaign. And it'll be Dan, Neil, Melissa, Junaid, Sanjot, Kevin, and Ryan. So Dan, we'll go ahead and begin with you. Thank you.
And thank you very much again for this opportunity. There is a theme that ties together everything that we've talked about, and it makes sense because we're all applying to be lawmakers, and that theme is the law. Now, the president is pursuing his agenda either by weaponizing the law or acting outside of the law with impunity. And I'm the only person with experience practicing law in this race. I've done it both in the private and the public sector. But the president's not only doing that, he's expanding his imperial aspirations by using the military, threatening to do so against our closest allies, as well as threatening to use the military against the American people through the Insurrection Act. And so in this context, I think it's really important to have not only military experience and legal experience, but also experience wrestling with national security issues. My military experience involved advising commanders in combat zones on issues of life and death, as well as advising four-star commanders on national security issues of strategic level consequence. I've spent so much of my career advising foreign countries on how to improve the rule of law. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thanks so,
versus two. Yeah.
thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you, Dan. Okay. Neil.
As I said, for me, this race is personal. For my son who's growing up, for my mother who's growing here, as well as for the entire community who've lost faith in the American dream. I want to fight for my seniors, ensure that their earned benefits are not on the chopping block. I want to ensure that this district, which has lost major companies like Sears, Motorola, and Ameritech, we bring multinationals from foreign countries into this district and make sure we create more high-paying jobs. We also want to make sure that I have a dedicated and a defined plan to dismantle Trump. Because if he is not dismantled, again, as I said, I don't know the country that this will look like. He's already shown us with ICE. He's already shown us with attacking other countries without the approval of Congress. We've seen the amount of corruption he has done. We need to make sure that he is brought back to control and hold accountable for all the wrongs that he has done. And that's the reason why I'm fighting for. So I want to make sure that we also bring new leadership, which the Democratic Party has lost. We do not want old leaderships representing Wall Street to be brought back here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neil. Okay, Melissa, you're up next.
Well, I think, again, going back to why people are frustrated, they're tired of a do-nothing Congress. And I was fortunate to serve at a time where we were a do-something Congress, and we got a lot done on behalf of the American people. I'm the only person in this race with legislative experience, but having really delivered. But I think the stakes are so much higher now. We are now facing a point where we turn on our televisions and we don't recognize this country. I spoke to a gentleman who's the father of 4 daughters the other day, and he said his daughters are frightened by what they see. And of course, these are images in Minnesota where we have a city that's under occupation. What I said to him is there was a time he would have been able to say, don't worry, kids, that doesn't happen in America. But now we know that it can, and it has. And so we're going to need fighters who know how to get things done and will use the proper statutes to hold this president, to hold ICE, to hold the Department of Homeland Security accountable. I've proven I can do that, and I'll do it again.
Thank you, Melissa. Junaid, you're up next.
In the last few months, as I spoke to hundreds of people from the district, one message consistent is people want a fighter in DC. And this fight is not just against MAGA Republicans, but against an entire political system that has failed us. I am not a career politician, and I'm the only candidate who has shown that when I believe in something, I will stand up for it. All you've got to do is look back to the race in 2022. When I believed in something, I took a stance. And due to that straight, honest, stance that I have, I'm endorsed by Progressive Caucus Vice Chair Congressman Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, State Central Committee Woman Senator Christina Castro, Congressional Progressive Caucus with 100 Congresspeople and Bernie Sanders. That caucus has endorsed me, and they are ready to work shoulder to shoulder with me. I invite you to research where the money for the candidates is coming from. I will be the voice of the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Junaid. Okay, next up is Sanjot.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone for listening today. We know definitively that people are very frustrated. And in order to rebuild that trust, to defend democracy and rebuild our economy, we really need to deliver solutions. I've been to hundreds and hundreds of doors. I've talked to many, many people through text and through doors and through our town hall, our coffees. The one thing that people always say to me, I know what the Democrats are fighting against, but tell me what they're fighting for. And I think we need to be absolutely clear. Here's what I'm fighting for: freedom, opportunity, dignity, and security for all Americans. It's very hard to tell everything in 1 minute, so So please go to my Substack, Sanjot Danung. I write a lot about policy and I deep dive into affordability, how we fix that, immigration, and a number of other areas. But really, I want people to remember one thing. I know that this is an overwhelming moment of chaos and uncertainty, but America has been here before and we will get through it. And we will get through it if we focus on facts, if we work together, and we focus on rebuilding our base. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjot. Okay. Kevin.
Well, thank you for having us. I've been, volunteering and active in progressive causes since 2009. Right now we need leadership who not only knows how to take on Republicans and win, but is also going to be committed to helping elect other great Democrats, not just locally, but across this nation, especially when we need to win back the House and the Senate. As a commissioner, I've legislated. I have legislative experience for the last 7 years, getting things done and fighting back against the disastrous Trump policies we saw in his first administration and his second. And right now, there's a lot of stake in this race. I'm from the district. I grew up in the heart of the district, and I care deeply about how we better represent our residents here. Out of the 8 candidates, 5 are multimillionaires. I'm not one of them. I'm running a fully grassroots campaign. I've earned over 180 endorsements. I hope to earn more of your support in this race. I could use some more volunteers, and I hope you'll go to my website, kevinmorrisonforcongress.com, to learn more.
Perfect. Thank you, Kevin. And finally, Ryan.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm wrapping up a great slate of our 8 candidates. But I guess when you look at this race, I just want you to kind of think of one big thing. It's who we sent to Congress and the symbol and how they would run their office. So I'm running this race with business leaders, and they would run their office like a business. And then I'm on this stage with career politicians, and they're going to run this office like a politician always has. And then you have me, this 24-year-old former DOJ guy. And sure, my office is going to be a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more messy, but it's just going to be full of young, policy-oriented individuals working tirelessly to make your life better. I think that's the type of office we need on Capitol Hill, and it's just something new, something fresh. And that's the reason I ask you to join me in this fight. And so you could go to ryanforillinois.com, and I really hope to earn your vote either by mail or in March.
Wonderful. Perfect timing to end the forum here. I'll turn it over to Flo now. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Angela. And I just want to say there's a lot of passion in this room. So thank you all for sharing so much, your priorities, your intentions, your plans. We really do have an embarrassment of riches in Illinois' 8th district. And I think I speak for everyone in Indivisible DuPage. Our gratitude to all of you for stepping up and doing something that is not easy at all, and in not being shy to take on the biggest problems that many of us have faced politically in our lifetimes. So, and also to the voters who have stuck this out, we appreciate you as well to get educated for the purpose of making the best decision on election day. I wish you all great success and luck in your campaigns, and we hope that we will see all of you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Care.